Yo, what is up YouTube? Marcel Kiefer here and welcome back to another video on this channel. Today we are gonna look at what you're doing wrong with the steering in F1 2021 and how you're gonna gain lap time by steering in the correct way. Just a simple way to show you what I mean. We're gonna have a look at Suzuka, because Suzuka is a track with the S section where you can really learn that. And then overall you have to use the steering wheel quite a lot. There are a lot of high speed corners, like even the spoon corners, and some slower sections. So you can learn in every kind of corner type. So Suzuka is actually a great track to learn any kind of racing technique, to be honest. But especially for the steering, I think it's a great thing to do. So we're gonna have a look at that. First of all, what I want to talk about is there's a lot of lap time in the steering. Otherwise I wouldn't make this video. And it's also just a basic video to make sure you guys understand what is going on when you are steering either too much or too little. And two things to understand. It also depends a lot on your setup. The one thing is, if you have a rear that turns a lot, like if the rear end usually turns more than the front end, you kind of have a car that turns by itself. So you kind of just turn a tiny bit. If you have a car that is really stable on the rear but turns more from the front, you have to turn more by yourself. It's all something depending on how you set up your car. I personally like a lot by letting the car steer itself. I think a lot of drivers in real life also do it. I think Max Verstappen, Michael Schumacher. I'm not sure about Lewis Hamilton, but I think even Lewis. And there are some drivers that really want to turn the car themselves. I think, for example, Fernando Alonso. But aside from that, this is all down to preference and all a kind of driving style that you develop over the years. And we are gonna see now with the default set, because it's the most balanced, it's a bit more understeery, what you can do right and what you can do wrong. So first of all, a misconception that I want to show you. Like the easiest thing that you already do probably wrong, but you shouldn't do because it costs you a lot of lap time. Let's quickly put the brake bias and differential again to the normal values, and that is, oops, if you steer too much, you don't turn more. At a certain point the car doesn't turn more, it needs to be slow enough. But if you steer too much, look at this, you hear that? Tires are just screaming and you get understeer. Also these corners, if I turn too much, I don't make the apex. And of course I'm also on the throttle, even if I lift now a bit more. Look at this. I can never make a single corner. This one's just about. But also with this, what you're doing, the more you steer, the more tire temps you produce. Also depends on the setup. Like if you have this kind of front end bite, you don't produce as much tire temps at the front if you turn more. If you have a self-turning setup, even with the smallest inputs, you get more tire temps. That, like, it's not just because you're turning less, you have like OP tire temps. This is not how it works. But you have to find the right balance. So don't turn too much. As soon as you hear this, and also with the understeer enhance on feature from the wheel settings, you can also feel that because your force feedback is getting lighter. That's an indication that you understeer and that you're probably turning too much or that you're going too fast. You can see that it got lighter and we're just pushing off, and with this I can tell you the front left tire in this corner would be dead. In this one, the front right, front left, front right, so always the opposite side. The outside tire is always the one that is getting more temps. Both of them are getting temps, but the outside tire is literally dying. And especially on a track like Suzuka, you need to be precise because the tire temps will kill you eventually. So don't do that, please. And now I'm gonna show you what happens if you turn too little. And these are some common features and mistakes that a lot of drivers do, even if they are more experienced. I see that a lot, but they are just steering too much. Let's steer too little. And guess what? You have the same thing. The good thing about that is, if you turn too little, you're not getting the tire temp. You don't get any tire temp at all, more or less. Because you're kind of going in a straight line, more or less. There's still a bit of load, but you know what I mean. So you have to find the right balance. But one thing is for sure, listen. Use your ears to hear when the tires are screaming. As soon as you hear this little Okay, this sound when you're turning, listen. You hear the tires? They are squeaking a tiny bit. This is exactly the point when you turn too much. And you can also see that the car is pushing wide to the outside and you understeer. And this is costing you immense lap time. Like, I'm not joking. Maybe, you know what? We're gonna reset the time trial ghost again. A quick one. Just to show you what happens if I have a lap where I steer incorrectly, a bit too much. Or some of you might steer a bit more than they should. You can see we're maybe a bit further away from the corner, and because we think, oh no, I need to make the corner, we are turning more, because like from a real car, like a road car, you usually expect the more you turn, like the more you turn your steering wheel, the more your car will turn. Which also works, but only at these low speeds. Like, you don't go 300 kph or 200 kph into a corner. Like, look at this. Oh, the understeer is insane. You need to slow down the car enough so you don't get the understeer. That's the main thing. Like, look at this. You saw this? You're nearly going straight with that. We're nearly going straight, even though we're completely turning left. Look. Oops. That was a bad demonstration. Maybe we can show it here. Yeah, we can actually kind of show it. There's a lot of people, especially beginners, but also some people still do it in tiny ways when they are a bit more experienced. And let's do a lap where I turn just not enough, but I don't make the corners. We're just gonna miss the apexes, but we're not gonna turn enough. Of course, we are a bit more aggressive on the power, but in general, we will just be more consistent. Like, over one lap, you might gain a bit more time with turning more, but trust me, with the tire temps, probably not. It's fairly similar, like you lose with both laps quite a lot of time. After this I will straight up continue, okay, like now we're just gonna turn too little. You can see we gained a lot of time there. Especially I think in the slow speed sections. Yeah, that was big. So we're now gonna continue. It was similar, but it's still like, you can see like over time you would be faster with turning actually less. Now we're gonna turn normal. Just the perfect amount. You turn also with your throttle and gas pedal. Because like I said, if you sometimes go too fast and you turn a bit too much, you will get this understeer. Like here I'm getting understeer because I turned too much. But I need to because I already missed the corner. And look how much time we gained. That's already half a second. Even there we missed the apex, but we still carried more speed. And didn't turn too little or too much. Like no understeer from it. Look at this. This is exactly what I mean. I think you can already get the idea of what I'm trying to teach you here. So there's a fine line, and you have to get a feel for that. So when you're turning now, next time you go on track, please watch out and listen. Oops, that was bad. And listen for these like little tires, like the tire screaming. Just listen for it, because you will definitely be slower. Look at this. Turning more, getting understeer, already 1 tenth down. Turning a bit more, bit more, bit more, bit more, bit more. But we can actually make the corner here, so we didn't lose that much because I messed it up before. But look at this. This is 4.5 tenths. Bit more. Didn't actually mess it up too much there. We were already past the corner. Definitely did it here. You could hear it again. We are already 7 tenths down. Even more than before. Turn a bit more. We go early on the power. You can do that, but you produce so much tire temps, guys. So you can see it's like it costs you so much lap time. So note to yourself, don't turn too much, and you still have to turn, of course. And you can see in some corners I turn also a lot, but I don't get that noise. I don't get that like visual effect that the car is pushing wide, and that is because of one reason. I actually took that corner normally, and that reason is because I'm not too aggressive on the throttle. Like, you have to kind of steer with your mind, okay? Your throttle inputs, your brake inputs, and your steering wheel, they are one thing. You have to regulate the car speed. The speed of the car and your steering wheel inputs will determine either if you get understeer or oversteer. And you want to find a fine line where you find that little bit of rotation from oversteer, but nothing unnatural where you would lose the car and it snaps. You want just to be right in the middle, maybe a tiny bit more to the oversteer side. But the understeer side, you usually don't want to get there, because as soon as you hit that, you lose time and you produce a lot of tire temp, and with that also tire wear. So in a race situation, you kill your tires. Even in a quali lap, you kill your tires and temps, and your grip will be gone in maybe a sector where it matters. Imagine China, you do that in the middle sector. Your third sector is anyways going to be difficult because of the tire temps, and it will be even harder. So yeah, one thing that I can still give you as an advice, I've coached one friend of mine once and watched him, and I saw this particular issue. This is why I thought about this video. I was in Austria, and I asked him to increase the steering sensitivity. So you know that the game has 360 degrees of rotation. You cannot change it in game aside from the saturation, where you can make it a bit more sensitive, but you cannot increase it. And I asked him to increase his, I've asked him for his base fan attack. If you have a steering wheel where you can change in the software, what is it called? The steering sensitivity, like the maximum steering angle where you turn the wheel, like to what kind of rotation. Whatever you have right now, if you turn too much, increase it by maybe 30 degrees. And if it's still too, if you're still hearing these noises, maybe a bit more, because first of all, you will steer too little and you won't get that understeer anymore. In some corners, you might turn too little, but it will help you to understand what you're doing wrong, and in which corners you're doing it wrong, and in which corners you're doing it right. And then you can slowly progress back to what you had and what you like, and then apply your knowledge to whatever you were using. As always, knowledge is key, and as always, patience, guys. This takes time, and it's hard to understand if you didn't know about it. If you knew about it and you still do it sometimes, everyone does it once in a while, even esports pros like I do. Happens, especially like in the Japan hairpin. Something like that can happen. Shouldn't, but it can. And yeah, so it's a thing that everyone does once in a while. You don't have to worry about it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just something I want you to be aware about, and so you can learn from it and improve for the future. All right, frustration will happen. It will take some time, but this is not like the end of the world. It's not like an assist that you have to turn off. It's just something that you have to get used to. Watch out for it, and your lap time will go down by a lot. I will see you in the next video. Give a like, subscribe, and the bell button, and comment how you liked it, if you actually changed your steering sensitivity and if it helped you. And one side note, yeah, I'm wearing this shirt for I don't know which video in a row. It's still the same day. I recorded 5 videos today, and it's 12 midnight, end of the day. Okay, I will see you in the next video. Peace.